Hi guys, and welcome back to my next episode of 20-minute takeovers, the series where I do a 20-minute video, maximum of 20 minutes to try and cover the sort of topics that are going around the community at the moment. Just to give you a little heads up about what's going on, I'm not entirely sure how this series will be going and whether I want to continue running my topics on Twitter or I want to move them, if I want to run my topics on YouTube or I want to move them back over to Twitter. So this evening, which will probably be before this actually goes live, I will be doing a live stream over on Twitter, doing some other questions which I've been given to try and see which will be most popular and which you guys enjoy most. So I will put a video up here if I stop doing YouTube. I will let you know, but I don't think that's likely. There will still be things coming up. But yeah, also some of you guys have been asking about my leagues and things. They'll be going up on Twitter and then on YouTube as well, probably in the next week. But make sure you check my Twitter. That's where I put most of my things up. But yeah, so I've got about 20 minutes now. I've got 6 questions, which are the sort of main questions that are out there at the moment. I'll just quickly run through my current draft that you can see on the screen at the moment. So the double Liverpool defence and Salah seem to be in all of my drafts, along with a City defender. The City defender is one of the topics that I'll cover. So why I've got Edison, I'm sure I'll cover later. Vardy at the moment, Sterling as well, King, Delafay, Ward-Prowse at the moment. Ward-Prowse is not one I'm particularly keen on, but I only had 6 million for that position. So whether he stays or not is another thing. But this is where my draft's at. If you've got any suggestions or anything, drop it in the comments or send it over on Twitter and I will happily rate your team. So first of all, I've got about 17 minutes left to do this. Today's topic, so first of all, is City defence and is it worth it with the amount of rotation? So within the defence itself, I only see really two options that are going to be pretty free from rotation, and then one which is definitely worth considering. Let me just tell that. So the two that I think are absolutely nailed on are Laporte and Edison. Now Laporte comes in at 6.5 and Edison comes in at 6. Laporte does offer a slightly better return. He is that 0.5 investment is definitely better than the 0.5 investment is definitely worth it over Edison. But the reason he's not currently sat in my team is because if I was to put him in, he'd only go in over Dunk, and then I'm having Lascelles never play on my bench or whoever that 4.5 defender is. And I like to have some rotation in my team, which is why I've currently gone for Edison. Although I do think Laporte, the 0.5 works. If your team structure works that you can have Laporte, then definitely worth over Edison. Now the other option is Kyle Walker at just 6.0. Now he currently is fairly nailed on, but he's getting older, and you can see by the way he rips the back of his socks when he plays. His calves and his muscles are a lot older and tireder than a lot of the other players, and he has said it himself that he does struggle sometimes to get up to the pace of the game. So I still think he's going to be their first choice unless they sign someone, but it's just a matter of whether he can play every single game, especially when Champions League comes around. And also we've seen over him from the last few seasons that you're mainly buying him now for clean sheet potential. He doesn't normally score or assist like he used to, so it is just for goals. But he is definitely an option. So the second topic, which is quite a big topic, is budget players. And a lot of us are looking at the players and thinking, where are these budget picks? Last year there were a few in midfield and up front that we definitely could consider for our teams to at least rotate into our team for the likes of 5 mil, 6 mil strikers or below. And this year there just doesn't seem to be that yet. Now, what I would say straight off is that we got a lot of these players in pre-season last year. So do wait with pre-season starting pretty much this week with Everton having played and Chelsea playing tomorrow. I know that. wait and see how these teams begin to set up, because there'll be players that people don't necessarily expect to play who then start to make appearances, and they will then be the ones that we need to bring into our teams to fund the premium players. But currently looking at it, there are just got three here that I want to highlight. There aren't players that I would want to play every single game week. That we don't have that player yet that everyone wants in their team because they are very cheap and play every week. But these players you can definitely consider. Firstly, as a Chelsea fan, I'm going to throw in Jorginho into there. At just 5 million, if he gets into that starting lineup, under Lampard, he will be playing a more advanced role, playing a Cesc Fabregas-like role, where he's assisting more, and hopefully presumably he'll be on penalties as well. So definitely one to consider and keep an eye on at just 5 mil. Up front, McGoldrick at Sheffield United at just 5.5 looks nailed on. Has a decent scoring record in the Championship, so if you're looking for a cheap striker, definitely he's the one to consider. Shane Long, I do not think will get minutes, so a lot of people have him, and the other one people are looking at is Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I do expect him to get minutes, but his potential returns are always low. He never seems to be involved, but never gets goals or assists, so he's not one for me. And the final one is a Wolves player, Dendoncker, at 4.5. He seems to be in everyone's drafts, and he's in mine at the moment. He is probably a bench player, but he is has the third highest XG and XA for Wolves, which is potential goals and potential assists, behind Jimenez and Jota from the second half of the season when Dendoncker started making his appearances. So he's definitely one. Most teams I've seen have at least one 4.5 midfielder, and he should be your first choice 4.5 midfielder. Definitely get him in your teams. So the third topic is the Spurs defence. Now, Spurs have been and are notoriously reasonably strong in defence, especially when they play at home, and in their new stadium they've definitely shown this to us, conceding very few goals. But it's where we should be picking them, and whether we should be picking them over the likes of City, Everton, Chelsea and Liverpool defences. So in defence, the only two that I would consider are Vertonghen and Alderweireld, who come in at 5.5 each. The left backs, Rose, Davies, both rotate, and they've both been linked constantly with moves away because neither of them want to be the second choice. And the same on the right with Walker-Peters, Trippier and Aurier all rotating and all wanting game time. And then Lloris in goal at 5.5 again is another option. He does tend to get bonus points and make saves. So the three are Vertonghen, Alderweireld and Lloris all at 5.5. But it's whether you want to pick them over the other options. They are definitely the best price defence going out of the premium teams. So if you can fit one in, especially in goal, as Lloris is not quite the same price as Ederson or Alisson, he's definitely worth considering. And if your team structure again and you don't have double Liverpool or Everton in there, definitely worth looking at. So yes, I would be considering a Spurs defender, as their opening fixtures are fairly strong, apart from Man City in game week 2. So moving on, had 9 minutes, got halfway there. Question 4: which City premium should we be looking at? Now, I mean, it's mainly looking at, people are looking at Bernardo Silva, De Bruyne, Sterling and Aguero. Now, some people have thrown out there whether Mahrez will get back into the starting lineup, and he seems to be the choice over Sane at the moment if they decide to play an out-and-out winger or they play Bernardo Silva on that right wing. Personally, I wouldn't want Mahrez in my team at 8.5, because if I had him in my team, I wouldn't feel safe with just him, so I'd want another premium. So he's not one that I think he could be a good option if we find that he's nailed, but it's too much of a risk to go into your game week 1 team. You don't want to start your opening game weeks behind by taking too many big risks. Now, again, similar to Mahrez, Bernardo Silva is more nailed, but I just don't think he's enough to cover the City attack on his own. His returns are good, but he doesn't seem to have the explosivity that the likes of Sterling, De Bruyne and Aguero have. So on his own, no, but if you compare him maybe with one of the others, then he can do the job. Now moving on to De Bruyne, and De Bruyne has caused a lot of debate within the community. This is because he comes in at just 9.5, which does seem a great value for someone who is so pivotal to what they do in attack. And with City now signing Rodri, another defensive midfielder, he is likely to be pushed not even further up the pitch, but he won't ever be forced to play that defensive role. So he'll be playing that at central attacking mid role, which we love to see him in. Now, the big question is whether he can perform enough to meaning you don't need Sterling and Aguero in your team. Sterling and Aguero are definitely the two main appealing players for the City. We'll see similar rotation and similar points, I imagine, from them both. So it's really up to you which you want. Sterling definitely is more in favour within the community at the moment, and that is why he's in my team. And Jesus has been given the number 9 shirt for Man City, which should say that he might be getting more minutes going forward. So Sterling is my bet at the moment. With De Bruyne, if you feel like he will be playing most games, if not every game, and probably the most nailed in player over Sterling and Aguero. He'll play more games, I imagine, than them. It's just whether with those extra games that he plays, will he return enough points from that central attacking mid role over them. I personally am unlikely to start the season with just De Bruyne, although I'm sure I will own him at some point throughout the season due to his assist and goal potential. So question 5, Salah versus Mane. Now, Salah comes in at 12.5 and Mane at 11.5. Going on last season, from start prices, Salah is down 0.5 and Mane is up 2.5 from their start prices. And then if you look at about their peak prices, Mane reached just under 10.5, so he's 1 mil over his max price from last season, whereas Salah is a million lower than his highest price last season. This indicates for me that Salah is the most favourably priced player. Salah did outscore Mane last season, and to still be remained a midfielder is definitely appealing for us. He's also likely to be on penalties, with Milner not really finding a place in the team at the moment anymore. His legs, he tends to be used off the bench. And if Milner is on the pitch, then he will take a penalty over Salah, but currently Salah will be on penalties. So for me, that 1 million worth on Salah is definitely worth the money. As well as this, if Firmino isn't playing, Salah then seems to be pushed up front, or Origi. But Salah is definitely the pick for me and will most likely to be my game week 1 captain against Norwich at home. And then we move on to our final point, 6, and how we should consider newly signed players. Not newly promoted teams, but newly signed players, the likes of Pulisic and other players that have come into the Premier League over the summer. So the Prem is often difficult to adapt to, and we have seen it with players, it seems to be Chelsea players, Cuadrado, Morata, Higuain, quality players who then when they come to the Premier League have struggled to find their form. So there haven't been any standout signings as of yet that makes you really think, yes, that player is quality in the world football, and then so he will be able to perform in the Premier League. The likes of Tielemans and Jimenez have been made permanent signings, but we know that they can perform in the Premier League as we saw them last season, so they are not included in this. Personally, I try to stay clear of both newly promoted teams and new signings until you can see whether these players are performing well enough within the Premier League and within this setting. For me, there are enough players elsewhere. That means you don't need to take the risk on these players. As I said, starting well in FPL is such a big thing, both mentally and in terms of the game. If you start badly, you will feel yourself slipping behind. So for me, it's not worth taking the risk on these players who you don't know how they're going to return. So those are the 6 topics for this week's recording. This will be uploaded if by Wednesday evening. I hope you all enjoy. If you have, please drop a like, comment and subscribe to the channel. Comment any further questions that you want answering, and I'll make sure to conclude them in a further video. Also check me out on Twitter and keep in contact, and I'll let you know whether I am doing YouTube or Twitter and what's my plan going forward. Leagues will be out coming up, and if you haven't seen, I did a big thread on Twitter of predicted lineups. It will be on my page somewhere. Go and check it out to try and help you all plan ahead for the season coming, and how I think teams will set up with some signings that I think are most likely. Or in terms of, for example, I've done Arsenal and I've put Zaha in there, not because I think Zaha will necessarily sign, but I think they'll sign a player that plays his position, whether it's Zaha or Fraser. So go and check that out. Yeah, but I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I hope it's helpful. Good luck with planning your teams. Still got about a month. It starts a month today, actually, I think, the Premier League, recording this. So yeah, make sure your teams are up to scratch. Feel free to ask me anything, and thanks. See you next time. Bye.